I'm Kathleen Wheeler, and I am an 8th grade science teacher at Pleasant Middle School.
Where might we find volcanoes? Can we find volcanoes?
Today's lesson, I wanted to bring in a fun application or a game for the students so they would enjoy what they're doing while learning. They got to play a game called Puzzle Planets that I downloaded from iTunes, and it was covering plate boundaries, Wegener's theory of continental drift, and then it also brought in life and theory of evolution. The goal of the lesson was to review for their final. It helped them review while they were playing, but also it brought up a lot of questions that I could ask outside of the game.
Please, website calendar. As you can see up here, before lunch, everybody put the birthday on the revolution calendar for seasons. What is the shape of Earth's revolution around the sun? Okay, good, an elliptical orbit. And why do we have seasons? What's the main idea on why we have seasons? Or because
I started by reviewing what we had done yesterday. They had built a seasons diagram. We took some notes, and then for homework they were supposed to finish the diagram and place their birthday. Where would the Earth be on their birthday? So I used the smart board for them. They used an infinite clone of the Earth, and they moved the Earth to where their birthday would be.
Yes? Okay, good. Rotation causes day and night. We said revolution causes the seasons, but what's the other idea that causes the seasons? Good, the tilted axis as the Earth makes its way.
Then we talked about how the Earth moves, and since they put their birthdays and that represented the course of the year, we got to see the shape of the orbit. So that helped us review motions in the solar system.
Now the tools that we're going to use today. We're going to use a netbook. As you can see, we have that out and ready for you. And where you need to go on the netbook, make your way to my calendar. Okay, so get on the internet, get to my calendar on my website on today's date, and it's in blue. Just go ahead and click on Puzzle Planets Review to open that. And then there is a link provided for you, and go through that link. It will prompt you to go through Google Docs, so you'll have to sign in through Google Docs. You are working with a partner, so this form will be submitted through one.
We then moved on to the game. They logged on to the netbook. We use Google Apps here at Pleasant View with our Google domain. They logged onto a form through my website, and we're answering some review questions and then some questions about the game that they're playing on the iPad. We used most of the class time today to play the game, and while they played, they made observations about the game, and then we're supposed to make connections on how it applies to our course of study.
Remember the rules with the iPads. You need to be on the place where we say you're supposed to be. So please only play Puzzle Planet.
Some of the questions were about plate boundaries, label the 3 types, or identify the 3 types of plate boundaries, and then the game only covered 2 of those, so they had to identify which one was not covered, and then the ones that were covered, how did it represent it in the game. They also had to move a puzzle piece to fit into the planet, and we connected that with Wegener's theory of continental drift. That helped them review the earth science aspect. And then it went on to each planet had a life specimen, and they could see differences in those organisms as they got to each level. And they were supposed to notice differences as they became more complex to cover the theory of evolution. As they were playing the game and making their own observations, I was able to come in and ask driving questions.
Now think about the one that you just did was amphibious.
So your planet is
how would you describe that one?
developing
Like
now.
cells.
Is it more than one cell?
Single cell.
Yeah.
So that started out as single celled, so it's not just adaptations, but what else has changed?
Developing. It's like
It's more developments. Good. The sun. It's moving, and describe its movement.
It's rotating and revolving,
Okay, what is rotation?
where it spins on its axis.
Good, and then what is it? How would you describe revolving?
When the Earth is going around the sun,
So what would you say that maybe is happening with these planets in the game?
probably almost the same thing. But
I'm always searching for new apps and finding ones that could connect. And I really thought that this one connected with our course of study, and that's why I chose that particular app. It also was supported by National Geographic, which is a trusted source. The Google Apps, we've made that a big part of our project this year. We created the domain for Pleasant View, and there are some other teachers who are using it, so it's helping us collaborate within our classroom as well as throughout the school, and helping the students become more familiar with it since it's consistent. There's lots of applications on Google, including the forms. It's an easy way to collect data instead of pencil and paper. I didn't have to use paper, so that saves paper, and as some of my students enjoy, they don't have to bring as many materials to class. It's here and ready for them. And then it's easy for me to analyze their data because it all comes into a spreadsheet form, so I can review their data easily.
It's about time to finish up your observations on the survey. I would like you to write a review of this app. Make sure that you include why it helped us. What connections, what specific connections do you find to our course of study, to the things that we've done this year? Yep, so we should be closing up the iPads and just finishing up the survey. When you're done, go ahead and you can just set the two machines at the front of your table.
If I didn't have the technology in my classroom, I would probably be teaching about the plate boundaries with paper models. We also use hand motions, but I think the technology brings it up a notch. It really helps with the engagement and the motivation, and it makes the students become a part of it. They also were practicing communicating using the Google form. They could have done that on paper, but they had to go through the practice of using the links and submitting a form online, choosing answers online as well.
So as there's more and more of us, we need those resources, so we have to compete for those resources. That also happens in an ecosystem. Do you know what organisms might compete for?
Food.
Okay, a lot of times they're competing for food. How about a plant? A plant can make its own food. Okay, good. So a plant could compete for sunlight. Okay, getting enough water. If there's too many of them to in the earth to
If you
get
try
enough water.
to change from a traditional teacher into a 21st century teacher in one day, it's going to be very frustrating, and you probably won't do as well. But if you take one step at a time and collaborate with other teachers and collaborate with your students as well. You have to let the students know that you don't know everything. I guess give away a little bit of that control and let them know that you're also a learner, and then you become more of a team in the classroom.
But